Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Rebecca, your host of Crafting and Crime Daily. Nice to have you. Currently recapping the trial of David Swift. Yes, Chad Daybell is done. It's over with. We wrapped it up with a bow. He has been sentenced to the death penalty. That was over the weekend. Busy weekend. So if you missed any of those episodes, recap of the victim impact statements and the sentencing, I will link them up there in the eye. You just have to click on them and save them to watch later, and you can come right back to this video. So this is the rest of day 2 and day 3 of the trial of David Swift. He is on trial for the murder of his wife, Karen Smith. She filed for divorce at the first week of October of 2011. On October 29th, she goes to a Halloween party with her friends, Bill and Kathy Bona, and she was planning to spend the night with them. And it was interrupted when her child, Ashley, called and said she had been at a sleepover and she was not having a good time, so she wanted to go home. You know how kids are. So she leaves. She goes, picks up Ashley, goes home. David wakes up the next morning. No Karen. She goes missing. They find her car at the end of their block, within walking distance to the house at this intersection off to the side of the road with a flat tire. No sign of her. The car is locked. There's a mini skirt, a black mini skirt, and some boots on the floor of the driver's side floorboard. Her body is not found for 40 days. It was found at a cemetery. Yeah. So David goes on with his life. Police continue the investigation. He goes on with his life. He gets remarried. He moves to a different state. I think he went to Alabama. And 11 years later, a grand jury indicts David Swift for his wife's murder. Now, anytime it takes 11 years to get an indictment, I am skeptical of the evidence. I really am. And after listening to all of day 3, I am still skeptical that this man, because the prosecution's burden is to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. So far, no, they haven't done that. Okay, so day 3, 8 witnesses on the stand on day 3. Good God, 8 witnesses. They're like boom, 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 boom. A lot of them were friends of Karen Swift. So their testimony was very brief. We worked out together. She's a great mom. Her husband was controlling, blah, blah, blah. To the point where the judge at the end of the day was like, it's the end of the day. This is getting kind of cumulative. We've heard enough about this, okay? We don't need to hear anymore. Okay. So first person on the stand on day 3, Danny Petrie, who was a police officer. I think he might have been in training. I'm not positive. He was a canine officer, so maybe he wasn't in training, but he was present when the Sergeant Walker was in the driveway having conversations with David Swift. And he gave evidence that when David was talking, this is the morning she goes missing, and they're talking to him outside of his home. His demeanor was very animated when he was talking about being a police reserve, but he would look down on the ground, and this guy described it as when he had to answer questions about his wife, he would look down on the ground and it seemed like he was searching for the right answer, that kind of thing. You know how when somebody hesitates and, that kind of thing. Anyway, the next person on the stand, here we go. Bill and Kathy Bona are the next 2 people to testify. Now, this is the couple. They live 10 miles from where Karen and David live. But Karen spent a lot of time with Kathy and Bill. And it does come out that they are swingers. Yes. Now, Bill was asked point blank, do you have a romantic relationship with Karen? No, I do not. but you don't have to be romantically involved with a person that you're swinging with. Yeah. Okay. So first, there's two events that they're talking about here. One is the 40th birthday party for Kathy Bona. And then the next is this Halloween thing. But before we even get there, Bill met David Swift at a Christmas party. And he had to sit next to him. And he said he was very uncomfortable. That guy was just talking about himself, and he just felt uncomfortable with this guy. And he said there were often times where they would go out. There's a place that they keep calling the farm. I don't know if this is a restaurant or a farm. I have no idea. This is the state of Tennessee. So he said they would go out for these events to the farm, 15 to 20 couples. And then sometimes anywhere from 5 to 8 couples would come back to Bill and Kathy's house, to have a little get together, chit chat, a couple of drinks. And they would go in the hot tub in various degrees of undress. Yes. So listen here about how he describes it.
Time when it was cold, so I'm sure she was.
Okay. Do you know how people were dressed?
Oh, it was, people in the hot tub were dressed to be in the hot tub, and then, people outside, it was cool. It was still early in the spring, so.
Did anyone have no clothes on in the hot tub?
I would say probably, yes, maybe it did, but of course, you can't see through water in the hot tub or anything else, so it was anything that I would, to see when you're sitting there submerged, but.
Okay. Did anything happen later that night?
Well, when the party was all getting done, when everybody was generally starting to leave and say their goodbyes, I went through the front room, just letting everybody leave and everything in our house, and Miss Swift was there. She was laying on the couch, and she didn't have anything on. She was about to sleep. So I said, hey, it's time to go. And at that point in time, one of her friends was coming in from behind me, and I said, well, let me get you a towel, or get her a towel. She said, I didn't see her clothes, and said, let me go tell David to come get her. It's everybody leaving, he needs to come get her. And on.
And who was the friend that came in? Do you remember?
It was Rob and Alfred, I think.
Did she make any statements to you about what are you doing or anything like that?
No, not to me at the time. No.
Was your wife near?
She came in afterwards. I think when I walked back through, she was in the, in the room right next door, and right there. I said, hey, they're getting, I'm going with David and get Karen, get her to the house and go and everything shut down.
Did you go get Mr. Swift?
Yes, I think I went and got him, but he was closed. Like I said, it wasn't a really big house, so the whole thing's pretty much open to itself.
Okay. So did he come in and take care of Karen?
Yeah, as far as I know, I wasn't in there, when that happened, I can remember, but everyone else was leaving.
So in that recording, he is talking about, and I'm sorry about the quality so bad. I haven't ordered an extender for my Wi-Fi, so that should wrap up that problem. But anyway, he's talking about this 40th birthday party that he had for his wife, Kathy. And after they had all been in the hot tub, Karen goes in and passes out on the couch. And apparently this witness that came in and saw him, David is under the impression, or she told David later on, that Mr. Bona was getting ready to rape her, which is apparently he denied, and Kathy Bona denied it. Everybody denied it. Anyway, so Karen had expressed to Kathy and Bill that she wanted to get a divorce, but she was financially dependent on David Swift. She was doing odd jobs. She was doing landscaping, she was cleaning houses, and she had just recently gotten a certificate to teach aerobics and was doing so at the YMCA. So they loaned her $2,000 on October 3rd. So she gets an attorney, she files for divorce. Now, of that $2,000, she had already repaid $650 of this $2,000 at the time she disappeared. So they were getting ready to serve him with the paperwork, and she didn't want to be there when he got served. So Bill and Kathy had made arrangements. Apparently it was a long, it had been planned for a length of time for them and another couple to go to Orange Beach and rent condos or rent a condo with multiple rooms. But the other couple backed out at the last minute. So they got stuck with it. It was already paid for. And he says, well, why don't you and the kids come with us? So that's what she did. She and the kids went with David and Kathy on this little vacation while David gets served with the divorce papers. But she comes back home and she moves back. She doesn't leave. He doesn't leave. They're both living in the same house. He's living upstairs in a bedroom. She's living downstairs in a bedroom. Now, Bill Bono said he had loaned her a phone. They didn't buy her a phone. He has a business, and he said he has several phones on his account and one that was not being used. So he let her use it. Then he talks about the Halloween party. So that night, which was the 29th, that was Saturday night. She goes missing that Sunday. So that Saturday night, Karen comes over to his house to help his wife get ready, to help her do her hair for the Halloween party. Then they go to the party. Now, he was asked, was she dancing with other people? And he says, she was dancing with my wife. And, everybody was dancing, like with everybody. They left around midnight and they stopped because Karen wanted some French fries from McDonald's. Karen loved her French fries, is what he said. So they go and get Karen some French fries. And they go, the plan was she was going to spend the night with them. And when Kathy is asked about this Halloween night, she described it as she adds in, she was going to spend the night on the couch. So, just to clarify. So she gets a call about 1:00 in the morning from Ashley saying, can you come get me? So the next morning, the Bonas get up, they go to church and they have breakfast and they come back home and they've tried to text and contact Kathy Karen several times that morning. I'm going to get those two names mixed up. I apologize. She wasn't responding. So they get a call from David saying, is my wife over there? And they're like, no, she left to get Ashley and she never came back here. And he said, well, a neighbor has told me that there's her car is down the street and I'm going to go check it out. And Kathy was like, did you call 911? And he's like, no. So Bill at this time, he calls 911. So they all go down to where this car is. It's locked. There's no sign of her anywhere. So Bill decides he's going to drive to this place. Saturday, she had been cleaning this house over in a area called Mason Hall. And he says, I'm going to go over there because her plan was to continue cleaning that house up on Sunday. So he says, I'm going to ride over there just to see if she's over there. I don't know how she would have gotten over there, but anyway. So he goes over there. Yeah. And he admits that they are swingers. He was asked on cross-examination, are you guys swingers? Yes, we are. He talked about how embarrassing this is to talk about, on national television or, on the internet. But it is what it is. And I have a feeling because it was very vanilla, the testimony, like they did not get into it. Yeah. He describes that there was one point where a couple of things going on with David. He said there was one time when David just barged into his house through the back door, uninvited, comes in, where's my wife? And they're like, what? And David, on this particular incident, Bill was in the living room relaxing, and Kathy had said she was going to go to bed early. I don't know. I didn't get a time frame for this. So anyway, so Kathy goes to bed early, and according to her testimony, I put on my pajamas and I get under the covers and I go to sleep. But then Karen comes into her bedroom naked, wrapped in a towel, and lays down with her, and they're talking. And that at what point David bursts into their room. Listen to this testimony of Kathy.
room of our house, which is a living room connected, all our rooms are connected, and had laid down on the couch in there.
Okay. Was this an area that was open that anyone could walk into?
Yes, it was. It's connected to the other dining room and the kitchen in the house.
It wasn't behind a locked door or anything?
No,
like that?
that's the room with the giant window in the front of it as well, and the front door. So it was just lights on, big couch in the family room.
Okay. Did she lay on that couch? Did she go to sleep?
I don't think it's leading up, though.
Did she go to sleep?
She was resting.
She wasn't in the room. She said she went to another room. She didn't have personal knowledge, I guess.
The objection is sustained. You'll need to establish a basis for her knowledge.
Miss Bona, did you go inside the house?
Yes,
Did you see Miss Swift laying on the couch?
I did at some point, yes.
Okay. Did anyone else come in?
Yes.
Who else came in the house?
Several people came in that were in the house, in other rooms of the house.
Did any others come in while Karen was laying on the couch?
Yes, Bill came in when she was laying there, my husband, Bill.
Were you inside the house at that time?
I was.
Okay. And what happened when he came in?
He saw her.
She was not in the room when Bill came in.
You know, she just testified that the room was wide open and you could see every room from the living room.
I think the inquiry can be satisfied if she establishes that she actually observed what you're asking her about. If she did, great, go on. If she didn't, then we got to move to another topic.
Okay, ma'am. Were you in this area where the couch was?
I was in the house. I did see him go in that room. So, like I said, there were people walking around.
Okay. Did anyone else come in?
Yes, Robin came into that room
Okay.
with him.
Okay. Did anything happen afterwards?
No, I mean,
In the same projection, but she's not in the room when Robin walks in.
I'm not asking about Robin. I'm asking about the incident after that.
Okay, one at a time. I understand, but I believe the question was, did anything happen afterwards? So the objection be overruled. Go ahead.
okay, I did not witness exactly what took place in those couple minutes in that room, but I did come in there at a later time, and she had the towel wrapped around her, and she was feeling lightheaded, and I think Bill had gotten David to come get her to take her home.
Okay. Were there any issues when David came into the house to get her?
No,
Okay. So Mr. Swift did not have a problem with the fact that she was in a towel and had been in the hot tub.
oh, he was just like, let me get her home. I was just, at the situation, like, oops, let's take her home, because, something, she was,
Do you know if Mr. Swift knew that she was nude in the hot tub?
I mean, sure.
It's all for speculation.
I'm asking if,
She hadn't talked to her. I object to it. I asked to be disregarded.
I'm asking if she was there present and knew, if Mr. Swift knew that she was in the hot tub.
Either before or after his statement.
Okay, kind of a moving target. Let me see if I can hit the target here. The objection is whether or not you asked this witness whether or not Mr. Swift knew that his wife had been in the hot tub nude. If you can lay foundation for that, then I'll permit her to answer. But I hadn't heard foundation yet.
Where was Mr. Swift at the party?
He was around everybody else, including his wife.
Was he near the hot tub?
Yes, at
Was
some
he-
point he was near the hot tub, inside, outside.
Was he near the hot tub when Miss Swift was in the hot tub?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Was there any doubt that she was nude in the hot tub? Did you see her?
Yes,
Okay. Did anyone else who was out there see her?
yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Your Honor, it's just speculation. I believe so. I object to it. I ask to be disregarded.
The objection's overruled. Go ahead.
Did Mr. Swift attend any other parties at your house after that?
No, wasn't invited to any parties after that.
Okay. Was there another time that Karen was at your house and that Mr. Swift showed up?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that incident.
Okay, so we had gone out to dinner with some friends, and again, we came back home, and a couple people had gotten in the hot tub, and we were hanging out outside. I got tired and came inside. Bill was also inside. He was sitting in the recliner. I got tired and came inside and said, I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed. So I proceeded to go into the bedroom, put on my pajamas, and get under the covers and go to sleep.
Okay. What happened after that?
I heard some commotion downstairs, and evidently David had come through the back door.
I object because she wasn't downstairs. So she's speculating on her phone. She wasn't downstairs.
Let's limit her testimony to what she observed then, as opposed to what she assumed would have happened.
Did Miss Swift come upstairs when you were upstairs?
Yes, she did.
What did she do?
She was, again, feeling a little lightheaded, had a towel wrapped around her, and lay down on the other side of the bed in a towel wrapped around her on top of the covers.
Okay. You were under the covers?
I was.
And was she under the covers with you?
She was not.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm not going to ask you about what door Mr. Swift may have come in. Did Mr. Swift show up at your house?
Yes.
What was his demeanor when he showed up?
Well, when he came into the room that we were both in, he was, again, enraged.
Okay. And what did he do?
He accused her of lots of things, sleeping with me, being a whore, being drunk, lots of things, was very angry.
Okay. And did he do anything physically while he was there?
Not that I saw. The room was a little dark, so.
Okay. And did he just leave, or what happened?
Yeah, he left angry, and she was trying to deny that anything was going on. I'm just laying here, and then he left, again, angry, quickly.
Okay. Did Karen stay there at your house? Did she go home?
She ended up leaving, yes.
Okay. All right. And did you have a conversation with Mr. Swift after that, in the days after that, about that incident?
I really did not want to speak with him after that because of we tried to cut ties, considering.
Yeah. So he leaves very angry. Now, it came out through another witness that Bill and Kathy got a restraining order out on David. That didn't come out during their testimony, but another witness mentioned it. So I thought that was interesting. But Kathy goes on to say that he was always calling her, constantly calling her. She said one time they were, having a conversation and he called her like 25 times, calling or texting. She said it was rare that she would come over on a weeknight. And she talked about the vacation. She said she just didn't want to be there because Karen didn't know how David was going to react to her request for a divorce. Then Kathy talks about this community bonfire that she saw that happened very shortly before the disappearance of Karen, where he's giving the kids rides. And she said he wasn't really using the crutches, As you recall, he had a knee replacement back in April and had recovered, but had re-injured his knee and was now using a brace and crutches. But she said he didn't act like he really needed them. So now the next person on the stand was Dr. Marco Ross. He is the medical examiner for Tennessee. Actually, he is not the person that did the autopsy because, like I said, this is a long time ago. What, 13, 14 years ago now? The person that actually did the autopsy has since passed away. So he went out, he pulled the file, he reviewed everything, and was prepared to testify. He said when the body was received, she was discovered 40 days later after she goes missing, the morning of the 30th, after the Halloween party. She was severely decomposed. She had panties on that were pulled down to her thighs. There was no way that they could do a sexual, determine if she had been sexually assaulted because of the decomposition. So they couldn't rule that out. There was no signs of a struggle because he couldn't talk about that because of the decomposition. But she had a severe complex skull fracture on the right side of her head that extended all the way to her left side and was depressed. So she was hit really hard with something, but what? He doesn't know. It could have occurred in what he calls, there's numerous possibilities of how that could have occurred. She could have fallen from a height. She could have been assaulted. She could have been into a car accident. He goes, there's so many possibilities of how that could have occurred. But some kind of blunt force trauma was applied to this woman's head, and she would have died, he said, within anywhere from seconds, almost instantly, to a couple of hours. So depending on the area of the brain that it affected, and he couldn't, there was very little brain matter left because of decomposition. So it wasn't really something that they could examine her for. And the way they were able to identify her as Karen Swift through dental records. They did do a toxicology because her liver was intact, and they were able to send the liver for toxicology. She had Benadryl, Tylenol, and alcohol, but you couldn't determine. He says you can't talk about levels when a person's been decomposing for 40 days. You can't talk about levels. So we don't know about levels. So he was asked, was there a hyoid bone, which is the bone you would know that it would be damaged if somebody was trying to strangle you? They didn't find the hyoid bone, so he could not rule out strangulation. And that was it. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. Manner of death, they never said the manner of death. He was never asked how he ruled. Did he rule this natural? Obviously not natural, but did he rule it homicide? Did he rule it, we don't know. We don't know if it was death at the hands of another. She could have fallen at the cemetery. I don't know. probability is that it was he ruled it a medical examiner that did the autopsy ruled it a homicide, but he was never asked. So we don't know. The jury doesn't know. So the next person to testify was a neighbor who lived across the street who was very good friends with Karen. She described her as a very attentive, loving, and nurturing mom. Often Karen would come over to her house and they would just hang out. They would have a drink or two and just chat. And one time David came over there with the girls. And she said the girls looked like he had woken them up to come over there. And he came over and said, the girls, you need to come home. The girls want you. And she's like, you need to go home. Karen was. So very weird. Then there was another time where she and Karen are having dinner at Applebee's and he shows up, and she said he was just very controlling. But here's what she said. I thought it was interesting. Apparently they had some sort of a falling out. She eventually moved away, but she said she didn't want to hang out with Karen with the crowd that she was with. So this woman was not into swinging, apparently. Okay. Then we had another friend who met her at a birthday party. She was also an instructor at this dance studio and where Karen's daughter went. So they both worked out. She said Karen loved to stay very fit, but she felt like when they were together as friends that David was stalking her. So she said there was one time when they were running an errand to go to Big Lots, her and Karen, and they saw his vehicle across the parking lot. So they flashed Karen says, flash your lights. David comes over there and Karen's like, what are you doing? Yeah. So kind of odd behavior. Then we have another friend. Now this is the one. Remember Bewitched? The lady would look out the curtains. This is the lady. She knew what she could see of the Bona's backyard from each room in her house. From the bedroom, I could see this, and this. I'm like, oh dear. She lived next door to Kathy and Bill Bona. She said she had been over to their home when Karen was there, but there was one night when Bill was in her yard without permission. And this is when Bill said, she's like, why are you in my yard? And he said he wanted to see if his wife Karen was there, but Bill and Kathy have a restraining order out on him. This is how we learned about the restraining order. And yeah. So apparently Kathy described this woman as being a snoop and a spy. What you doing? Behind the curtain, what you doing? Yep. So this woman worked at the mall. So the night of the Halloween party, she was working that night, the Saturday night, and she saw David Swift at the mall with his little girl, Keely, because Ashley had gone to a sleepover, and he was headed to Claire's to buy her some jewelry, and he said that he wasn't with his wife. He had asked her out for dinner, and she refused, and she wanted to go to this dinner, this Halloween party, rather than go out to dinner with him. But she observed him using his crutches that night. Interesting. Then we get another friend, Elaine Slaughter. She rented a house to David and Karen when they first moved to Tennessee. They had been living up in Arkansas. And remember, I don't know if you recall, there was a 3-year affair that he had, and then they got back together because they got divorced. They got back together, remarried on the same day they got married originally. Then she had an affair. So right after he finds out about her affair, he moves her to Tennessee. And this Elaine lady said that they were in a rush to get into a home in Tennessee. But she made friends with Karen. She said we were the same age. We both have kids, so we would go work out together. But she said anytime we were together working out, she said we spend maybe an hour and a half at the gym, but he would text or call her 4 or 5 times every time. And she talked about, and the judge said, how is this relevant? And the prosecutor said, this will become relevant later. And I'm curious how this is going to be relevant. But she went with Karen. I can't get these two names right. She went with Karen to get a tattoo. Now, what does this tattoo have anything to do with? I don't know. They went sidebar. Apparently, he told the judge what it was, and we don't know yet. That's to come. And then the last person on the stand was a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Hancock. He is a friend and co-worker of David Swift. And this is where the judge was starting to talk about this testimony about the 40th birthday party and the Halloween party. And it's all cumulative. He describes David as being very strong-willed and a perfectionist. He was a family man. He loved his family. When he found out his wife wanted a divorce, he said he wasn't going to leave the house. He made the comment that possession is 9/10 of the law, so he wasn't going to leave the house. And then he was asked, did David re-injure his knee? And he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, he did. And I took him to the doctor when he re-injured it. But he doesn't remember it being in October. He said it was the end of August or September that he re-injured his knee. And so they didn't really press that issue with him. So I thought that was kind of curious. Like, what happened here? Did he re-injure it more than once? I don't know. Anyway, that's the show for today. I still have to give you day 4 because today's testimony will be day 5. So I still need to watch day 4 and give you that recap. I promise you I will. So I'm a day behind. Apologize. It was a busy weekend with the whole Chad Daybell stuff. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in the recap. Take care. Bye.